Gary Tasman with Cushman and Wakefield Commercial Property, Southwest Florida. Gary, thanks for coming in today. We just got deep before the live studio started. But that's good stuff. We may air some of that stuff. Well, because I think also, too, it shows the person that you are. And I appreciate you. I think you're a great guy. You're a great man. You're one of the best, if not the best, in real estate. Been doing it for 40 years at a high level and professional level. And if I'm going to say to someone, who would you go to see in commercial real estate? I'm going to say, Gary Tasman's, I think, one of the best, if not the best, And there's a lot. I always tell people there's a lot of good realtors out there. Just like in my field, there's good realtors out there. There's good commercial brokers out there. But you can't make a mistake with Gary Tasman. I know that for sure. So I appreciate you being in here. This is our field. You're commercial, I'm residential. We're not going to talk about residential today. And we'll get into the commercial market because that's what we're really here for. But I just want to introduce you, Gary Tasman. Who's Gary Tasman? I think that's a big deal. I think, I told you, that smile that I talked to you about earlier, that's what I like to see in Gary Tasman. I know people see that, but you're in a business. It's a business. And for investment and the type of people that you represent, it's serious stuff. You take it serious. You're committed to your profession. Been doing it 40 years.
Yeah, 40 years. I got my real estate license 40 years ago this month.
That's amazing.
So 1984.
So is your goal to make it to 50?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's...
What else are you going to do?
Well, the thing is, and I know you share the same passion with me, when you have real estate in your DNA, it's in your DNA. Yeah. And so there are a lot of other things I'd like to do besides transact real estate. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I mean, I care passionately about what I do, and I care immensely for who I'm working for. Yeah. To be able to achieve and help them get from where they are to where they want to be. Yeah. And professionally, that drives me. Personally, it drives me. I mean, I love people. I'm never going to be a loner. I don't like being alone at all. I'm just a people person. Yeah. And I love seeing people succeed, and I love being involved in the innovation and the creativity and the complexity of getting transactions done that otherwise wouldn't have gotten done or wouldn't have been done as well were it not for my knowledge, my capability, and my expertise. I care, and I am passionate about it.
You and I are a lot alike. We've been doing it a long time. You've been doing it 40. I've been doing it 30. And we're not stopping. We're continuing to grow. We're continuing to try to get better. We're continuing to service our clients, the customer. And that's what you're about. 24/7. I know you have a life too, but this is what you live and breathe, is commercial real estate.
The day that it's not exciting to me anymore will be the day that I hang it up. Yeah. But I can't vision what that day looks like.
Yeah, I don't see that.
It's, from my standpoint, will I slow down, and are there certain things on my bucket list that I intend to achieve? Absolutely.
And you're doing that now, too, by what we were talking about a little bit ago, by giving back to your community, because that's what's most important to you, is your community. Right. And you're in a real estate field that is so much of a part of the community.
This community has treated me very, very well. Yeah. And I feel an obligation to leave it better than I found it. Yeah. So that's who I am, really, Mike. I mean, I love talking about the commercial real estate market. I can't share a lot of information with you yet, but I have a very clear understanding on where the market is, and right or wrong, I can support my beliefs on where it's going with my data and my analytics. Yeah. And that's what really drives me. It's, in our part of the business, Mike, lots of times they say the data drives the strategy, and they're right. Yeah. I mean, you can't afford to make big mistakes in this business because every transaction has a potential for a big downturn. Yeah. So you have to help people measure the upside opportunity versus helping them mitigate the risk. Yeah. It's not unlike residential, but the thought process that goes into a commercial real estate transaction is all about the only reason I'm buying it or the only reason I'm selling it is the financial benefit that I perceive I'm going to get from that transaction. Yeah. When I sell a house, I call you and I say, Mike, sell my house because I want another one. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Or there's something about this house that's not meeting my expectation or my needs right now. Or frankly, I just want a different house because I can afford to get one now. Yeah. Yeah. And that's a good feeling for us all. But at the end of the day, when I look at the landscape in Southwest Florida and I compare it to the national headwinds that we have right now, I'll never be naive enough to say it can't happen here or it won't happen here. But I believe right now we have the best opportunity for a long-term bullish environment in commercial real estate. I can't quite see when it's going to happen, and I'll give you some examples of what I mean.
And you say bullish, you mean very positive.
Very positive.
Very positive.
Very positive. I mean, more positive than I've seen in the almost 30 years that I've lived in Southwest
Which is
Florida.
pretty amazing to see because of how much Southwest Florida has grown. How much has happened here in our time being here.
Right. Well, it's beyond amazing. I mean, we're the sweetheart region of the United States, and we always have been. But we've got some risks that we need to continue to manage too, right? Yeah. But when we were entering into the Great Recession, we all said, "Man, this can't last forever." But nobody could see when it was going to end, and lo and behold, people and their behaviors outside of our market drove us to this Great Recession in Southwest Florida. Yeah. And it was a global situation. It was an equity bubble that just went crazy. Yeah. And it was driven on things that we had never controlled, but we had signs that it couldn't last forever. Yeah. And you knew them, I knew them. We were working together back then. And it was clear that when people buy their second and third house and they're just sitting on them, or when people are buying houses for investment and having schemes and ways to get into these houses as an investment property when they couldn't even qualify for a principal residence property, it started to show us signs that things are going to happen. Yeah. It's not like this now. Yeah. Now, home sales and residential activity have always driven the commercial market in Southwest Florida. In a lot of other economies where there's a lot of other drivers, like, let's say, high tech or biotechnology, and there's really big mega drivers in those other segments of the economy, housing matters, and housing pricing and housing sales velocity and new construction, it always matters, but not as much as it does in Southwest Florida. So my best leading indicator is new home sales and resales, because even if we slow down a little bit, we know that the activity that comes and the economic prosperity that comes from all of the people and services that it takes to sell a new house create demand for commercial real estate activity, whether it be office or industrial or even retail. Healthcare, even hospitality. Yeah. It's all driven by that real estate construction and finance segment of our economy. Yeah. And when you understand that and you watch what's happening, even before Hurricane Ian, we were in a good spot. Yeah. We had, going into the pandemic, we had the lowest office vacancy rate that we'd had in over 25 years in Southwest Florida. We had the lowest retail vacancy rate. We had the lowest industrial vacancy rate. So basic supply and demand. When you have a limit on the supply and growth in the form of population growth and job creation, prices are going to go up. Yeah. We could not have anticipated the positive impact of the pandemic on Southwest Florida, because it was horrifically terrible for people, right? What we had to live through was not good. Yeah. But there was an economic benefit in Southwest Florida and in Florida because of things we couldn't control, but we were certainly glad that we were here instead of other places.
Yeah, and not to get political, but
we got a
good governor though too.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with politics, but having seen what was happening in other areas, we were very lucky.
Oh, very much.
And we never could have anticipated the whipsaw effect of how well our economy was doing because everybody else's were getting shut down and, all the political side of it. But it's interesting in my mind to look back at that, and this will be a college course one day, or an economics study or a white paper, because what we learned is while no new technology came out of the pandemic as it relates to business uses, the deployment of the technology that we had already was, we moved 10 years in 1 year.
Yeah.
And I'll speak specifically to the internet, Microsoft Teams, Zoom, the ability to transact business and to communicate with people not present with each other was proven.
Yeah.
And it created a whole new wave of people that wanted to live in Southwest Florida.
Yeah.
That otherwise maybe would not have been able to.
Yeah.
I mean, that whole segment of that workforce, it's called the digital nomads.
Yeah.
Not sure if you've ever heard that term.
Haven't heard that term.
But digital nomads, they're not just computer geeks. They're people that can do their jobs digitally from anywhere. And we've proven now as a society and frankly as a world that we can do that.
Yeah.
And that has its own impacts on commercial real estate demand and a lot of different areas of that.
And what better place to do it than Southwest Florida?
Well, exactly. And that's the market spoke.
Yeah.
And because we have a really, really good quality of life that we all have a responsibility to protect.
Yeah.
And because we were gifted with God's grace in climate and water and the beaches and each other, in a lot of ways, people are envious of what we have in Southwest Florida and in Florida in general.
Yeah. But Southwest Florida, again, in the residential side, you're seeing people coming from Orlando, the other coast. We've always seen that, but Southwest Florida is special.
It's interesting. Our biggest in-migration population is other places in Florida.
Is it really?
So you take all the New Yorkers that move here, you take all the Midwesterners that move here, even Colorado and California now, everybody that's moving into Southwest Florida, even internationally.
Yeah.
The number one source of our population growth, when you break it all down, is people moving here from other places in Florida.
Yeah.
The East Coast is big.
Every once in a while I get guests in here that talk about the market, talk about things that we do. And when you have a guest like Gary, you don't have to speak whatsoever. Thank goodness I don't have to speak a whole lot, because that's what you go to Gary Tasman for is your expertise, your knowledge. And again, there's no one better than that.
Well, I thank you for that, Mike. I mean, I study. I'm a really, really disciplined student of the market.
You are.
And I study trends and I study gaps.
Yeah.
And one of the ways that we've really been able to help our clients navigate through this environment is to look at what's missing and see if it's really needed, and measure that against what's here already.
Yeah.
So we've been very involved in identifying the gap, for example, between contract rents and market rents, and finding opportunities for our clients that can capitalize on that gap as those leases expire.
Yeah.
We've also understand vacancy rates and demand and the erosion of demand, and so we can project out where housing is needed, multifamily particularly. We've been very involved in that, and then leave it up to the developers and their creativity in terms of what amenities and what price points and price gaps and all that kind of stuff. But we know if there's a certain percentage of the population that's going to own and a certain percentage that's going to rent, and what the growth rate's going to be, we can project out how much demand for multifamily.
Yeah.
We do the same thing with industrial.
Yeah.
We understand in industrial that it takes a population growth to to feed that demand, right? To house those jobs, or to house that inventory, or to distribute that inventory. And the same is true in hospitality. Hospitality is a really interesting one right now. We haven't even talked yet about the impact of Hurricane Ian after the impact of the pandemic, and having those two situations. I'll give you some high-level thoughts to consider. Number one, to my knowledge, there's never been a population our size have an infusion of capital as quickly as we're having right now that I know of anywhere in the United States. So we're in Lee, Collier, and Charlotte County, about a 1.3, 1.4 million people population. The projections right now are somewhere between 60 and 80 billion dollars of capital between insurance payouts, between all of the emergency grants, everything. When you add it all up, that's capital that gets infused into our economy to help us and support our growth. Well, where does that capital go
to?
I mean, it goes to, if you had damage in your home, it goes to getting your home fixed. So getting your home fixed from that damage, or rebuilt or replaced, getting your business back up and running, taking care of the infrastructure for next time. Because
bridges.
There will be a next time. I mean, we're building bridges and rebuilding bridges faster than we ever have in the next 5 years. We're building roads and laying in underground utilities. We're building back stronger than we've ever been before, because we have to. And the federal government and the insurance companies and external money is going to come into this economy to do that. What's that mean? It means more demand for office space, for industrial space, for open yard space, for retail space, for healthcare services, for education. And when you look at all of those jobs that are being created today because of the infusion of that capital that's coming already, I mean, I'm sure you heard Lee County just got a $1.1 billion block grant. That's a grant. That's not a loan. So that money is coming in to be spent intelligently on fortifying our infrastructure and our homes, and a lot of it is going to go into economically depressed submarkets. So we're going to see a resurgence of those older submarkets like we haven't seen before.
We got some great leaders leading the charge with that too, don't we?
We really do. And I'll tell you, our Board of County Commissioners are as passionate and as committed to building back stronger than I've ever seen. I mean, you can always say there's bad players out there, right? And maybe down the road we will have discovered something. But in my heart of hearts right now, I firmly believe that we have the best pool of good people that have to do hard work and help make hard decisions on where to do what needs to be done. And I think it's going to happen in a way that it will put us worldwide on the map of how to do it right.
Regardless of your political, whatever you choose, whatever you believe in, whatever. But we do have some great leaders: Kevin Ruane, Cecil Pendergrass, Mike Greenwell. All those guys are great guys.
Ray Sandelli.
I mean, he's been around for a long time. We got some great leaders to lead the charge.
Not only are they good guys, but we have the right resumes of people that are in these positions right now. And frankly, it goes to the cities as well. I mean, you think about the fact that Holly Smith, the mayor of Sanibel, who has a 20-year plus background in real estate appraisal, being the leader to help influence building Sanibel back. I don't think that anybody on Sanibel would think for a second or be concerned for a moment that this is an opportunity to capitalize on more density, more traffic, more higher buildings. It's just not going to happen. But it's what that community wants and wants to be, and it's why you sell homes on Sanibel, right?
Sanibel, Captiva, Fort Myers, all of it. We do.
Yeah. But as it relates to Sanibel, when you have somebody that has discovered Sanibel and they identify with the character of that community, they can invest in a home safely knowing that it's not going to change.
No.
And that's because you have leadership that's committed to the will of the people.
Yeah.
And they're smart people, and they understand valuation, and they understand infrastructure, and it's going to be better because
they got some good leaders behind her too.
Absolutely.
And,
the whole team.
Richard Johnson, I think Bailey's, he's behind Bailey's. I mean, he's a great leader himself. So you got some great leadership there. Lee County commissioners, as we see, Fort Myers, City of Fort Myers, Cape Coral.
Fort Myers Beach, Cape Coral. Yeah. We're lucky. We're blessed, really, in a lot of ways to have what we have in Southwest Florida right now.
Yeah.
And it's why my business is doing so well. It's why your business is doing so well. And it's why we like to get up every day and keep doing it, because it's so fun.
I've been saying, and you're a smart guy, and you know all this data a lot better than I do. But I've been saying we're going to have our own little microeconomy here, no matter what. I don't want to say no matter what goes on out there in the world. Yeah, but we've got our own little microeconomy.
So there's a
5, 7, 10 years.
There's a concept called demand erosion, and really what the Fed's trying to do right now is erode demand so that the economy slows down and we don't remain in this overheated inflation environment.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, at the core level of that demand erosion, it goes back to wages and job creation. So think this through for a second. And Jay Powell, the chairman of the Federal Reserve System, said this a couple of months ago, and it resonated very strongly with me. Right now, we have open jobs in America totaling about 3 million. We have a workforce that's looking for work right now totaling about 2 million. So for us to erode as much demand as we need to erode to get back in balance of supply and demand, we've got to get labor stabilized.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm not getting political, but how do you do that? It's going to take some wage growth.
Yeah.
But it also is going to take an intelligent solution to immigration, because if we need 1 million people and we erode a third of it, we're still going to need 750,000 people, right?
Yeah.
Or a quarter of it. And if we don't do that, the economy in the United States would go into a deep depression.
Yeah.
So it's going to take a little bit of job demand erosion.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to take a little bit of retraining and a little bit of immigration. It's going to fix this, but it's not going to happen fast.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't see any scenario where we get back down to zero interest rates or 1 or 2.
Yeah.
I mean, but if you look at the mean, when you believe that everything always reverts back to the mean, our mortgage interest rates are still okay.
Yeah.
And so that takes me to thinking about the idea of, because home sales matter in our business so strongly, is, well, what is the right balance in home sales right now? Well, if you take the pandemic out of the equation and you take the hyper low interest rates out of the equation that were kind of leading up to the pandemic, we were trying to raise interest rates as the Fed was before the pandemic. You had pretty good balance going for home sales, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they were building at about the same rate they were selling.
Yeah.
They were coming onto the market about the same rate. So we bring in all these new jobs because of the impact of Southwest Florida from the pandemic, and then exacerbate it with the impact from Hurricane Ian. And interest rates go up a little bit, and so housing might start to slow down a little bit. But if you look at the level of inventories for housing right now, it still isn't even close.
Yeah,
it's not even close to what it was in 2019.
That's the thing in mind. There's, I talk to realtors all the time, and one of them was saying the other, have you seen the inventory, especially on Sanibel right now? And I go, I mean, guys, we're just getting a little bit back to reality a little bit.
Yeah, it's normal. We can't live.
This is more normal.
White hot is not sustainable.
No.
So we need balance.
Yeah. So, I believe so too. I like more balanced markets anyway. But different segments of the market. You already touched on industrial, multifamily, retail, and hospitality in a little bit. But what's some of the things? Is there some other things that you'd like to talk about with those segments? Anything hot?
Yeah. So let me do a kind of a high level overview, if you want. I'll talk high level for a moment about industrial, office, retail, hospitality, healthcare, and multifamily.
Okay.
And I'll try to limit it to as high level as I can. And the exciting one for me right now is hospitality. So as I've been dabbling around the hospitality industry, you can't not in Southwest Florida, right? So these are my observation. Even before Hurricane Ian, we were entering a phase of consolidation because of traveler demand, of getting away from the small mom and pop resorts where the amenities were limited, but the natural resources were great, to an area or a space in that market where the mega resort was getting traction. Keep in mind, Sunseeker was already planned and under construction before Hurricane Ian.
Yeah.
Margaritaville obviously was under construction in Fort Myers Beach. The Four Seasons in Naples was already being planned, even though the land had sold and closed $370 million or so for a Four Seasons in Naples. That was already working, right? And so we were...
Then South Seas too, right?
Well, in South Seas, I mean, South Seas sold a little bit before the hurricane, I believe. And the new owners have committed to put over $1 billion with a B.
$1 billion.
$1 billion in South Seas.
And there's always been talk of that with South Seas, but for the first time, they're actually doing it because there's been a few owners since Mariner had that.
Right.
And some big owners. You know, the last one was Blackstone, wasn't it?
Yeah, but Blackstone, they were always, their play has always been an exit strategy in sight.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it was 5 years or 7 years or 10 years.
They didn't do much with it, but with what's already occurring, I drove through there yesterday. I'm like, oh my gosh, they demolished all these buildings that were pretty good buildings. And then the employee housing that everybody always said that maybe one day that will come down and they'll do something else. They're doing it.
It's gone.
They're doing it.
Yeah. And so South Seas, and it's really all driven by the metric in hospitality is the ADR, average daily room rate, which is essentially it's a non-weighted average that averages every dollar that they get for every room every day of the year.
Yeah.
So in peak season, it could be $500 or $1,000. In off season, it could be zero.
Yeah.
Right. So it takes all of that into consideration, and they come up with an ADR. So what's driving it is the ADR in the hospitality industry right now is off the charts.
Yeah.
And it's being proven already. Right now, it's high season, but the Luminary in downtown Fort Myers, I mean, you go try to get a room there tonight or tomorrow night or next week, you're going to pay over $700-800 a night for it.
What a great addition for downtown.
Oh, it's beautiful. And what's coming to downtown
with
is
the marina
stunning.
and everything?
The marina, the city having control of the big major assets that it has control of. I mean, there's a great day coming for downtown Fort Myers right now. And downtown, I say all the time, downtown Fort Myers should be the heartbeat of this region.
Yeah.
And we're the county seat. We have the most dense population. The last administration did a good job to increase density and allow for more density and consolidation of that live, work, and play. This administration is taking it to the next level. I believe they're committed to infrastructure redevelopment before, vertical construction. Certainly the block grant money that they're going to get from their share of that $1.1 billion is going to help. And so you're going to see in downtown Fort Myers, and I would encourage anybody that's interested in investing in the midterm to think hard about downtown Fort Myers, because you're going to see a very comprehensive, well thought out strategy on how we're going to develop Fort Myers into probably the first city of the 22nd century.
I think, that's what's so, for anybody listening to this, stay tuned for more, because this is great information, and there's no one better to give it than Gary Tasman, because you've been here 40 years. You've been watching, working, doing what you've been doing at a high level for 40 years.
No, I've only been in Southwest Florida for
30.
almost 30.
30.
But I've
you've been doing real estate, so you know your
and
stuff.
I understand real estate.
You know your
well.
stuff. And for someone like you to say that after 30 years of being in Southwest Florida, after 40 years of being in real estate in general and knowing your craft and saying that with commitment is pretty big, I think.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that.
That's what's great about this talk that we're having. And you just got great information to give. That's why when I have talked to you in the past about real estate, I mean, I love talking to you because you really, give me some great information.
Yeah.
As a residential realtor, you give me great information.
Well, I mean, both of our businesses thrive on knowledge and experience, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we bring to the table. That's what you've always brought to the table. I mean, you're the only guy I buy and sell houses through. So
I appreciate that.
It's that level of knowledge and passion and commitment and all of it mixed together with what's going to happen next that we both have good understanding of that help all of our clients.
Yeah.
So going back real quick, so hospitality, I see us entering this phase into not more density, but more consolidated density and many, many more amenity-rich resort opportunities along the coast, even down in Naples and Marco Island. That started beforehand. The trend is going to get exacerbated because of the opportunity that this hurricane has created. Now, you think about what the human toll has been on from Hurricane Ian, and it's unimaginable, and it really makes me think hard about the people and the lives that have been impacted.
Yeah.
But the best way to get back to stability is through economic growth and economic development. And our region is committed to that. And we're going to be there faster. We're going to recover. I mean, we're only 6 months out, and look at the level of recovery we already have. A quick anecdote on that. My brother lives in the Virgin Islands, and so they're very accustomed to hurricanes. He came up here about 2 months after the hurricane. He said, you guys are in better shape after 2 months than we are after 2 years.
Yeah.
So if you got to have a hurricane, this is where I want to be for it.
Yeah.
Just because we're ready for it and we're planning for it. And we're, like I said, we're building back stronger.
Yeah.
But let's go on because I know we only have a limited amount of time.
So we had hospitality.
Hospitality, I'm very bullish on. I think that the trends and the opportunities associated with the this move towards these mega resorts is going to be good for everybody, and it's going to lead to more home sales, which brings it full circle.
Yeah.
Talk about office. So office has structural issues. Number one, in Southwest Florida, we have a large amount of our office space is obsolete.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't built new office buildings that much. Very much at all, in fact, in the last 20 years. And the way we as businesses use office space has changed a lot, especially post-pandemic.
Yeah.
So I don't see we're going to have the same amount of need for office space, but in Southwest Florida, we're in great shape because we didn't go into the pandemic or the hurricane with excess
with
supply.
A lot of it.
Yeah. So we're in good shape on office, and office is going to be driven by users.
Yeah.
As it always has been, there will be and there have been several investment office sales, and people that make these investments, they're analyzing rent growth, which is still very positive.
Yeah.
Let's go to retail. Our retail market is 3 times the size of any of our other markets, office, industrial, whatever, and it's because of the number of seasonal residents we have. It's important that people understand there's a difference between a tourist and a seasonal resident. A tourist makes a great impact for a short amount of time to our economy. A seasonal resident makes a solid impact for a long period of time. But what's interesting about the seasonal resident is they don't use our infrastructure or our resources year round, but they pay for them in the form of ad valorem taxes. So take, for example, somebody that owns a home on Fort Myers Beach or near where I live in the Iona area, and they're a seasonal resident. They come down, they have their condo, they pay property taxes on that condo. They in that property tax bill are paying their share based on the value of their property for year-round police service, year-round schools. They usually don't even have kids in school. They're paying for fire services. They're paying for infrastructure. They're paying for trash collection. They're paying for what we all pay for. So we want to have our seasonal residents have great experiences here because they pay for so much that we as annual residents don't have to. Our commitment back to them is we're going to do everything we can to keep our health care as best in class as it can be, our police and our safety and security and our education. Even though they don't have kids in school, they want to make sure that we have a good school system because it adds to their property value. So it all kind of works hand in hand, but that seasonal resident drives our growth in healthcare, which that market is doing well. We're seeing some consolidation. There's some obsolescence in healthcare medical office space right now, but it's getting worked through. If there's one opportunity I see right now, we have 3 hospitals planned and committed in Southwest Florida right now, 2 in the Cape. Actually, you could even argue 4, and 2 off the Colonial Corridor.
Long-term I don't think people realize that. Most people don't even know that's coming.
No. Long-term investors should be thinking about being positioned around those hospitals. Because new hospital development creates a lot of demand for things around it. So office parks, meadow office buildings. Now, I can't say that it's going to be like it was last time, so I'm not sure you're going to need, for every hospital bed, I don't think you're going to need as many exam rooms in private doctors' offices as you did, because we have telemedicine now, and we have healthcare being delivered in a lot of different ways than it was in last cycle. But intelligent entrepreneurs and informed entrepreneurs and investors are going to understand what's needed and start to fill those gaps. But I know one thing: when you build a healthcare corridor, you have a lot of healthcare around it, whatever it looks like, and that's opportunity. So housing, I mean, we talked roughly, I don't know if we're going to have the same number or the same percentage of home ownership going forward as we have in the past. Certainly interest rates erode some of that, but we're going to need the same number of units as long as we keep growing at the same rate. So rental communities, there's the single family for rent product that's coming to the market now in a big way. There's a lot of opportunity around residential and multifamily development that we're going to see as long as our population continues to grow. And we haven't seen that wane yet at all. It takes me to industrial. We talked, a little bit about it before, but as long as we have population growth, we're going to need those industrial services. And they range in our area mostly a combination of distribution with a high concentration in building materials and construction materials. And even with our infrastructure bill, that created demand for more industrial, because with that infrastructure bill comes the opportunity to rebuild roads, to big, heavy piping. And I mean, we've done a lot of deals with those types of companies, electrical, even technology with the internet and how we're fortifying our internet right now. So that industrial space is going to be fine. It's going to be driven by the needs created by residential home building, commercial building, and infrastructure building, which with all the money that's coming here right now, we see that as a great growth area. Not even to speak to the public sector growth that we're seeing, like the improvements and the growth that we're seeing at the airport and at the university. Those create a lot of jobs, create a lot of demand for industrial space. Retail. So retail is going to change. At one point, I would have said I wouldn't invest in any retail uses that you can buy on the internet, because I thought it was all going to go to the internet and there wouldn't be as much demand. But the face of retail's done a better job of recreating itself in different cycles throughout the years as anybody. So there's the concept of medical retail now. There's the concept of entertainment retail now and experiential retail. Because of that, we're going to continue to see retail get developed and redeveloped as we continue to grow. If you want to know what retail is going to look like in the future and mixed use is going to look like in the future is now at the corner of 951 and Immokalee Road in Collier County. If you haven't been out to Founders Square and seen what's happening out there, it's a mix of some really cool office, some great restaurant and entertainment concepts, some housing, some medical office. I mean, it's just exciting to see what these developers have visioned and executed on. And we're going to see more of those.
We're going to see that a little bit in Lake County?
Oh, no question about it. You're going to see it up in Cape Coral on the islands.
That's great.
You know, those 6 islands up there on the northwest part of the Cape, that's going to get developed now. Yeah. I'm dealing with several mixed-use developers that are looking at very cool projects all over. We sold the land at the corner of Coconut Road and 41 across from Coconut Point Mall. I mean, that's going to be a phenomenal mixed-use project.
Yeah.
And so we're only limited by the creativity of the developers, and since we've got the pool of developers that are knowledgeable and comfortable with our region and our business environment, we're going to continue to see that.
What are some things that might be coming that maybe most people don't know about that you might be able to share? Anything like that, Gary?
Well, I mean, we've talked about a few. We've talked about
the hospital thing was a big deal.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
We've got new hospitals in Cape Coral being planned. We've got new hospitals in Fort Myers, along Colonial, and Cape Coral, Pine Island Road. We've got the big resorts we've talked about.
Margarita got bigger after the storm.
Yeah.
I mean, it's getting bigger.
Yeah, and it's probably even might get a little bigger yet.
Yeah.
So we're going to continue to see those. We've got new multifamily projects being planned all over. There's a big one, 400-unit complex that we sold the land for in Cape Coral, another one down in Naples. We've got some new concepts of retail coming as we get on the map based on the size of our population. You know, if you're 350 to 500,000 or 700,000 in population, you're going to attract one level of retailers. When you break 1 million in population, you instantly become attractive to another level of retailers. When you break 1.2 million, which we have broke now, we're going to see all these new concepts. Yeah. Plus, the concepts are changing fast.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
As our consumer demand changes, what we like to do changes, retail's there to pick that up.
Yeah.
And so the biggest thing in retail that I think you should keep an eye on is, where are the experiences going to go? That's where the retail is going to go. For example, and this, I'm just grabbing this out of air, but let's think about the concept of pickleball.
Yeah.
Pickleball is very, very desirable right now,
it is.
right? And it's going to be an Olympic sport.
Yeah.
It's being planned and strategized right now. We are a mecca for pickleball players. How many communities do you know that have switched out their tennis courts for pickleball
Ton
courts?
of them.
Yeah.
I'm even thinking about putting one in the back of my house.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. I mean, it's
got a
fun.
big yard.
It's fun. It's easy.
Yeah.
And so I think you're going to see those kind of things drive demand, that experience, that opportunity to engage is going to drive demand for other things around it.
Yeah.
Obviously, the baseball stadiums are going to continue to attract new things around them,
Yeah.
and you can really look and just guess where that's going to go based on where the vacant land is.
Well, it's like we got Cooper's Hawk coming in around Twin Stadium.
Exactly.
I don't think a lot of people even know that's coming. I mean, it's almost done. I think.
Well, the best one, I love the Cooper's Hawk being here because we don't have to go down to Naples anymore, and so that's good. But Capitol Grill's coming to Bell Tower.
I've heard that.
No, it's in for permitting. It's going to happen.
I mean, I think that's going to be huge. I mean, everybody's been waiting for Bell Tower to come back, and it's got so much potential, and everybody wants it. It's just a matter of
So remember the University Grill, and I mean, we all had. I'd say there was a 10-year period there that I probably had a business lunch, at least 1 or 2 a week.
Yeah.
And everybody that we all did business with was there, right? The lawyers were there, the engineers were there, the brokers
now it's going to be Capitol Grill.
I think it's going to be Cowboy
I think it will too. I'm going to walk there because I live
That's right. You
by.
live right across the street. Well, I'll ride my bicycle.
Yeah. But I love seeing things like that. I mean, I've been here all my life since I was 3 years old. And I was driving down 41 today. I was out by Scanlon Automotive, great family, great dealership. But I remember when there was nothing out that way.
Yeah.
Late 70s, even early 80s. It just not much out that. I remember there was a big aqua slide right across from Scanlon that we just, oh my God, it was like the best thing in town. And just some of the history and some of the things that we've had in this town. And then all of a sudden we get Topgolf. And then we get Whole Foods. I mean, these are big things that we've all been waiting for the longest time. And there's more coming, like you said.
Yeah, there's a lot.
And those kind of things, I will tell you, I wasn't trying to be a commercial broker, but I was in Knoxville, Tennessee this past weekend at the NCAA swimming and diving. My daughter was swimming there. But little town Knoxville, which was really cool. And I saw a concept that I'm like going, this would be perfect for downtown Fort Myers. It was kind of a bar kind of thing, and it went down in this old building, and they had like 10 or maybe only 8 lanes of bowling.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like old time bowling.
Yeah.
And I asked her, I said, does this do well here? Not just the kids? And she goes, oh, we take reservations. I mean, it's like packed every single night. And I'm like going, just college kids? She's oh no.
Everybody,
we do events. We do all that kind of stuff. And I'm like going, what an incredible idea. And then I was in a place called Tupelo Honey. It's a lunch and dinner place. And I actually got online and I said, bring this to Florida. They're not in Florida. And I said, bring this to Florida and bring it to Southwest Florida. And
that's cool.
I just got a reply back saying,
a lot of times that's how it happens.
Yeah.
Krispy Kreme donuts.
Yeah.
Same exact thing. We've been wanting a Krispy Kreme donut. I grew up with one near my house.
Yeah.
I mean, it was awesome. And everybody's been wanting it for a long time. Finally, a guy said, you know what? I'll take that territory. He opens it up. There's a line all the way around the building every day. And I think he broke the record for the number of donuts sold that fast when he opened. And every concept we get does that.
Steak and Shake. I remember when
thing.
Steak and Shake came in over in Cape Coral for the first one. I think I was their first client. And I was there at 9 o'clock in the morning. And I'm sitting at the window. And they go, can I help you? I'm like, I'm waiting for you to open. Go, well, we're waiting. It's opening at 10. And I'm like going, okay, I'll wait.
I got another hour. That's great. So, yeah, I think we're going to continue to see that. And it's going to, based on consumer tastes and growth, we're going to get a disproportionate share of that growth.
Yeah.
People ask me about land all the time. And I can tell you that we don't have a shortage of land. We have a shortage of developable land, which means we have to be smart about how we develop path of growth land and how we redevelop infill land. And we're very much in front of those curves, and we know where the opportunities are when they present themselves, and we know how to advise people on what to do with them.
Yeah.
But as rents continue to grow up because of the scarcity, that you're gonna keep seeing land values go up as well.
Yeah. Anything else you want to touch on? I know we talked a lot.
I think I covered the whole market in
you're
40
awesome.
minutes. Man.
You're awesome. You know your stuff. And let me just ask one more thing. Okay, so we know Gary Tasman. We've heard a little bit about Gary Tasman. And I encourage you to call Gary Tasman for your commercial needs. But about Cushman and Wakefield commercial property, Southwest Florida. It's not just Gary Tasman there, is it?
No, we have a whole team. We're so Cushman and Wakefield. I'll give you the history of my relationship with Cushman. Right before the Great Recession, a couple of years before, I was recruited to open Southwest Florida as a branch office for Cushman and Wakefield, and the concept for C&W was very transparent. They said we have a lot of clients that need our services in the market, and we need to be able to have the platform there because our clients are demanding it. So we opened the office, and we were very fortunate. The market engaged with us and really welcomed us with open arms because of the analytic capability, the data, the research, just the quality of the brand.
It's probably the biggest brand in Southwest Florida, don't you think?
Oh, no question about it.
I don't know of another brand like that.
Yeah, we're
as big as Cushman.
I mean, we're one of the top 3 globally.
Yeah.
So we have resources that local firms just can't provide.
Yeah,
investors
from all over the world.
No question about it. Yeah, we can cast a
database that you can tap into. Pretty incredible.
Yeah. And so during the Great Recession, they came to me and they said, we really love what you're doing, but on a national level and even a global level, we're consolidating, we're circling the wagons. We want you to buy your market. Yeah. And the reason for that is they were very comfortable with our capability to service their clients. So I was very fortunate to be able to have bought the market. I bought the company during the recession, and we've been growing it and operating it ever since. Then maybe about 7 or 8 years ago, I had an opportunity to buy a property management company. It was a company that I had been referring business to for many, many years with really, really good friends who were just using it as a transition, to succession planning. Yeah. So I bought the company from them, I think in 2016 or thereabouts. And, so we now are, by most measures, the largest third-party commercial property management company in Southwest Florida, which, again, gives us scale and capability that smaller firms may not always have. But we also have stayed very true to the brand loyalty aspect of Cushman and Wakefield, which is we're disciplined students of the market. And Cushman and my colleagues, who I'm humbled by their intelligence and their capabilities sometimes throughout the country and the world, rely on us to deliver this platform to the national and global clients that we have as a firm. But it also requires us to be able to be knowledgeable and capable for anybody in the market that just wants to transact business. Yeah. It's been a wonderful, almost 15-year relationship. Yeah. And I got to pinch myself sometimes for, how fortunate I've been and how much it makes me want to just keep giving back. Yeah. Because it's so exciting to see what happens.
That's what I love about you too, Gary. We touched on it earlier that you're not just in the business of real estate, commercial real estate here in Southwest Florida. You're heavily invested in Southwest Florida, just in the community and giving back. And, that's so important, and we thank you for it. So I appreciate you coming in.
Yeah.
A lot of good information. If you want more, call Gary Tasman.
You can find me anywhere.
I appreciate it.
Thank you,
Mike.
for coming in.
Yep. Okay.